All right. Hi, my name's Linda, and I am a member of Cohort 1 for Leaders in Training. A little bit about me. I recently graduated from UNR with my bachelor's in biology, just recently, fall 2019, so just in December. And I am now here today to give you guys a leadership lessons about student loans and kind of the process that I took in regards to what loans I took out, starting from my freshman year all the way to my senior year, and kind of the expenses I had, things I joined, and kind of to make you guys feel better about going to college and make you feel not afraid about taking out loans. And if you guys are or have questions about it, I'm definitely here. So I hope that this video can answer some of the questions you guys have and kind of see the walkthrough of why I took the loans out by myself. So I have pulled up my Nevada. I did go to UNR, so let me go ahead and combine those screens for you guys to see. So let's put those two together. All right, so I already have everything pulled up starting from my freshman year all the way into my senior year when I did graduate. For all of you guys who don't know, I did graduate early, so I graduated just a semester early. So with that being said, I did take a lot of summer and winter courses, and so I'll also go over kind of the route I took with paying for those, because that also is a different process, I feel. So starting with my freshman year of college, I wanted to go over the different scholarships that I had, and the resources that Leaders in Training has provided me. So Leaders in Training provided a scholarship to me of, I cannot remember the exact amount. I want to say it was about $500 or $1,000. I cannot remember exactly the exact amount, but that was a scholarship that I did receive my senior year being a Cohort 1 member. And then another scholarship I did receive was the Cox Scholarship by OCA. That was $3,500, and so that was probably the pushing point that really allowed me to go to UNR. Without that $3,000, I don't know what I would have done to pay for everything that I did. I probably would have taken out more student loans. And I do remember the very first time I took out my student loans, I was scared about the entire process. I remember the day I called Miss Mosca, and I just was freaking out on the phone because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what FAFSA is. I don't understand taking out loans. And I just remember calling Natalie, and I was just dude, what are we gonna do? What does this even mean? And I think that comes along with being a first generation student is, for me, I had parents who didn't really understand what all of this meant, and so them not understanding didn't make me feel any better about wanting to take them out, because putting thousands of dollars to your name at the end of the day, it really scared me. And I guess now that I'm looking back, and an advice I could tell myself if I was younger, and to all of you guys, is to not be afraid of taking out loans. If that's how you're going to get through school and that's how you're going to pay for certain things, like food, rent, your car payments, they're just things you have to do in order to get through college. And so for me, I took lots of different routes. Each year was very different. My freshman year, I lived in the dorms, so that's a lot more different than when I lived in my apartment my sophomore year. And then junior year, I lived in a house. So lots of different things happened each year, and that would explain why I took out different loans. So aside from my freshman year, those were the two main scholarships that I got and really helped push me go to UNR instead of going to UNLV. So, but ideally, UNR and UNLV does cost about the same. The only difference was that I was paying for housing, housing, so dorming. So I lived in Sierra Dorm in Reno, and and then I also have to pay for a meal plan. So I picked probably one of the cheapest one. It was meal plan D, and that was the one that everyone recommended if you were on a budget. And I was okay, I could figure out what I'm gonna eat and So anyway, starting with my freshman year, this is August 21st of 2016. I did get a few other scholarships awarded by UNR, so that was also really helpful. So I got the Alumni License Plate Scholarship. I also got an external scholarship of Oh, that external scholarship right there that you see right that says external scholarship SAP of 1,750. That was the scholarship that I got from the OCA. I did take out one loan, which I think is very important to note. The loan was $3,500. So with that, you take it out in the beginning of the school year. So that's why here in this amount, you see that it's $1,732. They split it between the fall and spring semester. And so when you take out your loan, you always have to think about, how much are they going to give me in fall versus spring, and what are my expenses going to be then and at that and then later. The reason I say that is because maybe you have different activities happening, or maybe your rent will increase in January. So those are some of the things you need to take into account, because they will not give you the whole $3,500 at once. They do spread it between the semesters when you do take out loans. So that's something to be aware about. And all of my loans are subsidized. So when you take out loans for college, something I totally was like freaking out about was like, what does it mean to take out subsidized loans versus unsubsidized loans? So subsidized loans, I would like to say, are the better loans for college. So throughout your whole college career, for taking out subsidized loans, there is no interest that builds up. You have, and then whereas unsubsidized loans, as soon as you take out that loan for that following semester or that school year, it will start to accrue interest until you graduate, and it will start. So pretty much until from the point you take it out, it'll start accruing interest. Whereas subsidized loans, interest will not start on those loans until you graduate. And there's actually a 6-month grace period, I believe. The 6-month grace period is what you have until you have to start paying your loans back. So that's what I'm in right now. I'm in my 6-month grace period until I have to start paying them back in June. But yeah, so that's the difference between subsidized and unsubsidized, in case anyone was not sure. And then my federal Pell Grant, that's government aid grant, is so anytime you ever get a grant. So how you see earlier, I have the UG Access Grant. You do not have to give that back at all. That's completely for you. You can use it however you want. And yeah, same thing with like scholarships. Dependent on your scholarship, they might require you to use it towards like books or certain ones. But all the scholarships I had just went towards things that I needed, and I could choose what it went towards. And what's really fancy is you can kind of see the different things they went towards. So if I click on my alumni license scholarship, it shows that it went towards my undergraduate registration fees. If I go towards, this one paid for mostly everything. So if I click on the external scholarship that I had, paid for part of my meal plan B, my undergraduate registration. And then if you look at, let's see, my subsidized loan that I took out also went towards my meal plan. Having meal plans are pretty expensive, and living in the dorms is most expensive. So that's why a lot of the money, that's the reason why I took out my loan, was so that I could pay, so that I could eat. And then, let's see, I'm trying to look for, and then my housing, it did cost $2,133, and that was just for the fall semester. So spring did cost also a separate amount, most likely about the same. Okay, here you go. So this is the UG Access Grant. So it went to most of my school fees. So as you can see, it paid off the rest of my Sierra housing. It says academic housing Sierra double. I did live with a roommate. The house center, counseling, technology fees, ASU, and these are just the required school fees that I had. So then I also wanted to go over how UNR has kind of the difference between us and like other schools. So like if you were to go to a community college versus an Ivy League versus a regular university, the difference might be how much your registration fees are. So like for me, my class fees per credit was $233. So then if I was taking a 15 credit workload for my schedule, then it would be 15 times $233. That would be how much my classes were for that for that semester, for spring or fall. I also wanted to make a note that in my freshman year, aside from living in the dorms, I did decide to join a sorority. So that's what these letters are. I decided to join Kappa Phi Lambda my freshman year of college. So those were additional expenses that I had to take into account. So about annually, I was spending about $400 to be in my sorority. So those were things I had to take into account when taking out student loans. Were there any clubs or things that I wanted to join? That was the only thing I joined my freshman year. I did join the pre-PA society, but that cost was only about $10, so I don't really think too much about that. And then my freshman year, I also did not work. So that was and the reason I chose to not work my freshman year was because I wanted to purely focus on my studies. I did move away from Las Vegas to go to Reno, so I wanted to ensure that I was putting my all into my education before, focusing on other things like working a job. I always think you have the rest of your life to work, and so that's why I wasn't afraid to take out loans, because I knew that it would take off the burden of, working after school or working late hours. And so that was something I didn't want to do my freshman year of college. So going on, my spring semester was very similar. All the scholarships that you see here should have been the same for my, so starting from January at this point, you can see that all of my grants, scholarships are going to be same thing. My subsidized loan does show up here, and that will be the other half. So all scholarships, all grants, and all loans get divided into the 2 semesters. Okay. And so then wanting to move on, I wanted to talk about summer. So I did take a summer class, and something I always wanted to note is that when you take summer classes, at most universities, there is always a summer tuition award that you can always apply for. So if you plan ahead enough, always make sure to think, do I want to take a summer class? And because most of the time, these summer tuition awards and applications do occur very quickly, and the time period to apply for them is very short. So you want to make sure that you have enough time to apply and get the award in time. So for me, I was able to pay off my summer classes. I got a $1,000 tuition award towards my summer class that I took. In the summer, I did take 2 classes. So because I only got 1,000, it did not cover the other half. So I did take out another subsidized loan of $990, so close to 1,000, to pay off the other half. And then going on into my sophomore year, so now this is fall 2017. At this point I had moved out of the dorms and into a apartment. I moved in during the summer, so my rent was $465, and if you multiply that, so I started in August, so my lease would end in August. But it did get a little complicated. I only stayed there for 8 months, so that equates to about $3,700 that I was spending for my apartment. So, and the reason I only lived there for 8 months, about a month, maybe 1 to 2 months before school had ended, I ran out of money completely, almost completely. It was to the point where I was not able to pay for my next month's rent, and I just was like, I need to move out. And it comes to points like that where at that point I wasn't sure if I was even going to go to UNR anymore. I was struggling financially, and I put me in a lot of stress. And 465 was about a lot of money for me, I felt. And I didn't even stay the full year of my lease. So I did move out. I lived with a friend for the last few remaining months until I could really get back on my feet again. And during my sophomore year, I did work as well. So I did pick up a job. So things were getting a lot more harder. But you can see the different things. So in my sophomore year of college, I still had the Millennium Scholarship. I had a new grant that I got, which was the Nevada Guarantee Grant. I had the Stewart Adams Scholarship for $750. I took out one more subsidized loan of $3,500. So like I said again, it would get divided from fall to spring. So then I also got another scholarship, which was just a general scholarship given by the university of $500. And that was it for fall of 2017. And then moving on to spring, I got a TRIO Access grant. So I would like to say that in my sophomore year, I also joined the TRIO program. So TRIO is very similar to Leaders in Training. It is a program geared towards helping first generation students like myself and ones just like you getting to and through college. So at this point, it's a college level program where they pair you up with mentors and provide financial help. And so this was something that, so this was after this point, after I had joined this program, this was a grant that I continued to get throughout the rest of my college career. And dependent on how good your grades were, if you kept up with your requirements, your TRIO Access grant would increase in the amount. So then you can see throughout the years, my TRIO Access grant became more. So from spring of 2018, I had $430, but then the following semester in fall, if you look here, I got $550. And then if you move on down to spring of 2019, I got $665. And so from that, you can kind of see that it went up each semester because of how long I had been in the program and for the grades and the requirements I had been keeping up with. So that's a great program for you to join. It might be different from each university, but that's what it was like for me. So in my sophomore year, I did work at the Wolf Shop. So that was basically at the student union. It was the bookshop that we had. I was only making $8.25 an hour, so minimum wage, and that does not pay for a lot. And then in my spring semester, I was working a restaurant job on campus, also making not $8.25 anymore. I was making $9. So then with that, so if you remember now, so my freshman year I took $3,500, and then my sophomore year I also took out $3,500. So now I'm at a grand total of $7,000 that I own. That is tied down to my name that I owe to the university for going to school there. So then going on to 2018, this is my junior year. It gets a lot more hectic at this point. So in my junior year, I ended up moving to a house that I live now with my sorority sisters and also another fellow Cohort 1 member, Natalie. So we do live together, and at that point, my rent was only $395, and that was a lot more better to live in a house right across school. I also did have a car throughout my 3 years of college. Never ever paid for a parking pass because I always, like I said, I was on a budget. I was trying to figure out how can I pay for things and what things did I not have to pay for. So I never paid for a parking pass, and I always just made it work out that way. Comes my senior year. My senior year was probably my craziest year. People always come to their senior year and think, okay, well, I just want to have it easy. I think I just totally wanted to do something different. I just did not do it easy. I worked really hard. I worked 2 jobs that whole semester. I wanted to get a head start on my career. I do plan on going to PA school, and so in order to start my career with that, I needed to get paid clinical experience. So I started working at a physical therapy office as a technician. So I was only making $8.25 because that is an entry-level job. And then along with that, I was also still working for ACDC. At this point, I was working as a senior outreach coordinator, and I was making $15 an hour. So those are 2 different sources of income that I had. And during my senior year of college, my rent also did go up to $465. So it just went up by $65 or $75 from the previous year. And in my last semester, I took out and I don't think I said this earlier, but in my junior year, I did take out a subsidized loan as well of 5,000, around 5,500, because because I did have a lot more things I needed to pay for, and I just wanted to ensure that I had enough money and that I wasn't going to be stressed out. So my junior year, I didn't work as much or as hard, um, because I took out the loan. The loan definitely helped relieve that burden. And so I really wanted to focus on my grades because being a biology major, I definitely struggled and it was not easy at all. After all of this, I'll show you guys kind of like my transcript and how hard it was. And I am not ashamed of my grades at all. I'm actually very proud. I think I worked very hard, and I didn't get a 4.0 at all in college, but I worked very hard. I worked throughout college, and I took out loans to help relieve the burden. Um, but yeah, so if you look at from my senior year, I took another summer class before my senior year. Took 2 classes to kind of avoid having a heavy semester that fall because I knew I was going to be working 2 jobs. Um, but I was still taking a full 12 credit. I was still full time being at 12 credits. So I continued having the Trail Access Grant, the Millennium Scholarship, another Nevada Guarantee Grant, the Federal Pell Grant. This is the most I had ever received for the Federal Pell Grant, which was $3,000 and $3,098. So those were the loans and scholarships and grants that I had gotten through my, I guess you would say, 3.5 years of college. I did graduate early. And you can kind of like pause the video and kind of look at what grants I took. And like I said, I did take every summer. I took a summer course pretty much. I think there was only one summer in my college career that I did not take a summer class, and then one semester I did take a winter semester class as well. Okay, so the whole point of me explaining kind of the things that I did, I wanted to kind of reassure any students that are out there about student loans and kind of explain the differences between what loans are, grants, and scholarships, and show you what expenses I had throughout college and to not be afraid. I also want you guys to kind of be aware of any challenges you might have as the years get harder, what your degree might require and demand of you, and to always be um, ready for anything that comes your way. So, I guess other expenses that I had not talked about were paying for books, groceries, and gas. So I did have a car all 3.5 years of college. So paying for gas was about $50 to $60 a week. Textbooks each semester for me ranged from about $200 to $400 depending on what classes you take. Some majors you don't require as many books, but for me that was the typical range of things I had to pay for. So each semester from all the loans and scholarships I took out, I was getting a remainder. I would get a refund check back, but the refund check was just like extra money I had taken out from my loans. So that's what the loans are for. So I took out those loans so that it would give me a refund check, and the refund check allowed me to pay for my books, my groceries, going out when I needed to go out with friends, because I definitely think that's important to maintain a social life throughout college and not be stressed out about money. And yeah, so if you guys have any questions and want to email me or call me, text me, those are definitely things I can kind of help you guys with. Next, I kind of just wanted to show you guys my grades throughout college, and you guys can kind of see the curve of like how I did. So if you look from my freshman year of college, this is my fall and spring semester. So at the end of my freshman year, I got a 3.745, and to me that was just absolutely amazing. I really tried my freshman year to do the best I can. And I had so much fun. I had fun living the dorms, and I took out enough money and loans so that to the point that I wouldn't be stressed out and had to work another job. I have no regrets in anything that I did. And I think I did phenomenal for being a freshman in college. So I was a biology major too, just in case anyone forgets. So, and I knew from my freshman year that I wanted to be a physician assistant. So you'll see that some of my classes are kind of geared towards that. So like medical terminology was completely um, optional, but I decided to take that to prepare for my career. So then going into that, my summer, I took biology 190, math 181. I got A's. My other recommendation for any students going into college, if you know you're going to have a difficult major or you just want to take a semester, like fall, spring semester, where you won't have a very heavy load, I definitely recommend taking any winter semester courses, summer courses to kind of help relieve that. So for me, I was like math 181. Math was not one of my strong suits, so I wanted to make sure that I was going to get an A. So I did take that because when you take summer courses, it just feels a lot more individualized. You can focus on that class a lot more. So I did tend to take a lot of my harder classes in the summer so that I could focus on it, study a lot more, and really understand the concepts. Um, by my sophomore year, fall semester, I had 3.6. And then the end of my sophomore year, I had a 3.5. So I had dropped all the way from a 3.7 to 3.5 by my sophomore year. And a lot of that had to do with like financial burdens that I had. I was very worried about paying my rent on time. And from if you guys remember from what I said earlier, during my sophomore years when I started to work, I started to work two jobs. And so then you can kind of see the drop in grades. And so then moving on, this is my junior year at this point, so fall and spring. I You can kind of see that my cumulative GPA does tend to go down throughout the years, and even though that sounds bad, I am completely fine with that because I think my grades tend to started to average out throughout the semesters, and I think my classes did start to get a lot harder, and the demand of the work I needed to do was a lot more than what I had as a freshman. So that's why we always say it's so important that as a freshman you really focus on your grades. Don't think so much about working or like doing other things, because if you don't do well your freshman year, it can really affect your cumulative GPA once you get to your senior year. So yeah, it does a lot more damage. So then going to my junior year, these were the grades I had. This was probably the start of my really hard upper level division biology classes. You can see I was taking cell bio, epigenetics, physics, anatomy, and some other OChem. So a lot of those classes were a lot more harder. And then moving on, I did take some summer classes. And then to my final semester of my senior year, I ended my college career with a 3.4. And I am okay with that. I think I tried very hard throughout my college career. I took out the loans that I needed to take. And I thoroughly enjoyed my college career being in a sorority, working for ACDC, and spending my summers here in Reno was also very rewarding. So this is my college career for you guys. My main advice is if you're unsure about taking out loans, don't be confident and know what you're paying for. I always made sure that whatever loans I was taking out, that it was what I needed for that semester. I never ever took out more than what I needed. I always made sure I took out enough. Because by the end of my college career, I wanted to make sure that the money I owed was not being used for, vacations, for spring break. All of the money I used always went towards books, groceries, and, necessities that I needed. But yeah, Once again, my name is Linda. I am a Cohort 1 member of Leaders in Training. If you guys have any questions, you guys can always reach me via cell phone, email, or through Miss Mosca if you guys don't have any of that info for me. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to this. And thank you.